Good evening, South Mississippi. Meteorologist Taylor Graham here, joining you from the newsroom. It's probably obvious to you at this point we have no early evening newscast, but we do have a lot to cover in terms of our forecast this weekend. It's a big weekend for the coast. Cruisin the Coast begins officially tomorrow, even though when I was out and about today, I already saw tons of cruisers and people already enjoying the cruise. But weather is going to be a big factor tomorrow because it's a double-edged sword. We need rain around the area. We have a pretty good chance of seeing some much-needed rainfall, especially along the coast. On the flip side, that is going to be bringing with it probably some big impacts to those areas or those people wanting to enjoy the cruise. As for today, it was mostly dry, breezy. It actually felt pretty nice outside. In fact, we only hit a high of 81 today in Gulfport at the airport, where our normal high is at 84. The humidity was also fairly low, fairly tolerable. Now that's going to change by tomorrow. It's going to be much more humid, much more muggy, but today, all in all, it felt pretty nice outside. And while we are looking at a few showers moving in this evening, and in fact, we're seeing a few of those beginning to move into the coast right now, we're really looking at much more rain by early Sunday morning, and that's going to set the stage for a wet start to Cruisin the Coast. So widespread showers, even some heavy downpours are looking likely starting early Sunday morning, and they will continue for the most part throughout the first half of Sunday and even into the afternoon. I am expecting, though, the best chance of rain tomorrow to be throughout the morning. And within these showers, we may have some heavy rainfall, not out of the question. And this mainly goes for areas along and south of I-10, along the immediate coastline. Not only is it going to be rainy, it looks like, it's also going to be windy at times. We're keeping that breeze out of the east throughout the day. Sustained winds close to 15 to 20 miles per hour. We may get some quick gusts of about 25 to 30 miles per hour. So overall, if you have plans to head out to Cruisin the Coast, I know it's a big day in downtown Gulfport tomorrow. Bring your rain gear with you. Just keep in mind it's also going to be breezy at times. There's one good thing, though. The rain, the wind, that's going to keep our temperatures down. In fact, we may struggle to get out of the 70s tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised at that. Currently in Gulfport, we are at 78. We've got a little bit of a breeze right now out of the east and northeast. Dew points have crept up into the mid-60s. And that's a signal that we're starting to see more moisture move in along the coast. So temperatures today generally have stayed pretty steady in the upper 70s and low 80s. Right now we're in the mid to upper 70s. We're not going to see temperatures drop too much overnight tonight with the breeze and the cloud cover. First alert radar showing some of those lighter showers beginning to approach the immediate coastline right now. Nothing heavy at this time, but there's a lot of moisture to work with that's now currently offshore. We can see that big batch of rain offshore over the Gulf. Well, that rain is heading in our direction. And we also see a broad area of low pressure over the Gulf as well. Now, don't get too concerned about that in terms of any tropical development. Chances of that slim to none. So that's some good news. This is not going to be a tropical system. Now, that being said, this area of low pressure is reinforcing a strong wind out of the east, and it's going to stay breezy tonight into tomorrow. East-facing shores, specifically Hancock County, likely going to be vulnerable to some coastal flooding. Now, coastal flooding is not related to rainfall. Coastal flooding is related to the wind and the tide, and because this wind is coming out of the east and along Hancock County, we have more so of an east-facing shore. That's where we could see some low-lying areas inundated with about 1 to 2 feet of water. And that's generally going to coincide with high tide. The next high tide is going to be at 2:14 in the morning for Bay St. Louis, and then we will have another cycle of high tide at about 12:26 tomorrow afternoon. So coastal flood advisory, that goes until at least 6 o'clock on Sunday evening. Again, this is going to be that easterly wind pushing in some of the water along those east-facing shores. You may see some of that coastal flooding along some low-lying areas. Just emphasizing again, we've gotten some questions about this. Coastal flooding is not related necessarily to rainfall amounts. Now, speaking of that, there is a chance of some flooding caused by heavy rainfall tomorrow. This is our flash flooding risk. This is on Sunday. At this time, what's known as the Weather Prediction Center puts us under a marginal level 1 risk of seeing some flooding. If there's one thing going for us with the heavy rainfall potential is that we are seeing drought conditions. So the soils may be able to absorb pretty easily some of this rainfall. However, if we do see some heavy rain in a short amount of time, that's going to lead to some street flooding. It's something to be mindful of definitely tomorrow. I will say some forecast models have been hinting at some localized amounts of 4 to 6 inches of rain. That's not going to be widespread, but areas along and south of I-10, the immediate coastline, are going to have the best chance, I would say, of seeing some flooding rainfall on Sunday. And in addition to that, we're also looking at the potential for heavy rainfall at times on Monday, but Sunday is going to be our greatest chance. As for tonight, it's going to be breezy. We'll start to see some lighter showers move in closer to the coast overnight tonight. Some of those may struggle to reach areas farther inland, but as we get into Sunday morning, the rainfall will continue to increase in coverage, especially along the coast. We may see some heavy downpours at times, could even hear a few rumbles of thunder, but at times this is just going to be some steady rain. I'm expecting the best chance of rain tomorrow to be throughout the morning. That being said, on and off showers, heavier downpours are going to be possible throughout the afternoon on Sunday. Areas that get multiple rounds of heavy rainfall are going to be more likely to see some flooding. So again, something to be mindful of. It's going to be windy in addition to that. And we may also see some additional rainfall going into Monday, once again, especially for those areas closer to the coast. Now, it doesn't look like the rain will be as widespread or as prolonged on Monday compared to Sunday. But if the ground becomes a little more saturated on Sunday, additional heavy rainfall on Monday could lead to more localized flooding. Now, because the rain is not going to be, it looks like, as consistent on Monday, we will have a better chance of seeing high temperatures in the mid-80s. Tomorrow, though, I wouldn't be shocked if we struggle to get out of the 70s. For now, I have a forecast high at 81, but it really depends on how prolonged the rain is going to be throughout the day on Sunday. So this is just one model run of our in-house model of a Futurecast. I've stopped this at the end of Sunday evening pretty much. Notice how it concentrates a lot of the heavy rainfall in our 3 coastal counties, especially along and south of I-10 for the most part. Inland areas tomorrow, you know what? You may not pick up much rainfall. That's possible. The heaviest rainfall potential, just emphasizing, is really going to be for our 3 coastal counties and south of I-10. There is a potential that some spots by the end of tomorrow may be picking up over 4 to 5 inches of rain. That's not going to be for everybody, but with that potential, we want people to be aware of that tomorrow, especially with Cruisin the Coast going on. A lot of people are going to be traveling along Highway 90, enjoying the cruise. Just keep in mind, weather is going to be a big factor tomorrow, not only with the rainfall, but also the wind. Even into Monday, additional heavy rainfall is going to be possible. That could add to our rainfall totals. Generally looks like 2 to 4 inches along the immediate coastline, not out of the question. Again, locally higher amounts are possible. Farther inland, especially into northern Pearl River, Stone, and George counties, you may not even pick up a ½ an inch of rain. So a big gradient of rainfall here in South Mississippi expected over the next 2 days. This is a tricky forecast with where exactly the cutoff is going to be with the heaviest rain. Generally, though, the closer you are to the coast, especially the beach, the more likely you are going to see some heavy rainfall Sunday and into Monday. So let's also talk about the wind. It's been breezy today, made it feel pretty nice outside. Overnight tonight into Sunday, we will continue to keep that wind mainly in some sort of easterly direction, more so out of the north and east over land, over the water, more so of an east to southeast wind. Now, if you have plans to take the boat out tomorrow and even into Monday, it's probably going to be rough at times. The small craft advisory remains in effect over the sound and offshore. Over the water, we may see some gusts over 30 to 35 miles per hour. Even along the immediate coastline, we may see some gusts near 30 miles per hour. So it is going to be windy throughout the day on Sunday. Even into Monday, we'll keep some of that breeze out of the east and southeast at times. So do be aware of that. It is going to be breezy as well, and if you're going to be enjoying the cruise, maybe you want to put your hair up if you have long hair. Be mindful if you're going to be wearing a skirt over the next few days because it is going to be breezy. So again, just something to consider if you are going to be spending time outside. Again, small craft advisory remains in effect throughout Sunday. Rough conditions are looking pretty likely. We'll keep winds mainly out of the east over the sound. Offshore, we could even see winds more so out of the south and west, but generally over the sound, we are looking at an easterly wind. We will be coming up on high tide throughout midday tomorrow. Just a heads up again for Bay St. Louis. That's where we could be seeing some coastal flooding. Low tide is expected as we head into the early evening. Also wanted to point out there too, our water temperature has dropped a decent amount, now sitting in the upper 70s at least in Biloxi Bay. It's going to be pretty muggy over the next several days. Today it felt pretty nice, but we're getting an increase in moisture. The higher humidity, the higher dew point will be sticking around Sunday, Monday, and it looks like it's going to stay pretty humid into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That being said, our rain chances by the end of the week for Cruisin the Coast are going to be much, much lower. Still could see a few spotty showers Tuesday into Wednesday. I do expect that by Friday and Saturday, our rain chances are going to be even lower. So at that time, for Cruisin the Coast, the weather is looking much more cooperative. As for the tropics, we do not have any tropical threats to the Gulf Coast. I know I've been talking about that area of low pressure over the Gulf. Odds of it becoming something tropical, none. The National Hurricane Center does have it highlighted, but even they are giving it just a 0% chance of becoming a good tropical system. That being said, we're still going to be seeing some impacts out of it in terms of rain and some breezy conditions. Elsewhere in the tropic, we have a pretty healthy tropical wave that's way out there in the East Atlantic. That does have a good chance of becoming our next tropical depression or tropical storm. For this hurricane season over the next week or so. Signs are indicating that system, as it develops, is going to head out to sea. We'll keep an eye on things. A lot of unknowns with it at this point, but now that we are entering into the month of October, we typically see less tropical activity. That's not to say that we can't see that. History has told us that we do see some tropical systems in the Gulf during the month of October, but we generally get a downward trend of activity by the middle to end of the month. Best to be on guard, but at least for the time being, we are not looking at any tropical development in the Gulf at this time. The next name on the list, if you're curious though, that is Jerry, and that tropical wave that we are watching in the Atlantic, that will likely become Jerry at some point, but at this point, it is not a concern to the Gulf Coast. Tomorrow, I am a little concerned with some of the heavy rainfall potential, especially in the morning. I know we have a lot of people that are going to be out and about for Cruisin the Coast. Just something to keep in mind. Heavy rain may lead to some localized flooding. We also are going to keep that wind pretty strong out of the east throughout the day on Sunday. Even into Monday, we could see some additional heavy rainfall. Rain chances are looking much lower by Tuesday, Wednesday, and into Thursday. Cruisin the Coast events are going to be in better shape at that point. That's not to say we couldn't see a few showers, but it's not going to be as widespread as what we expect tomorrow. It is going to be muggy. It is going to be warm, temperatures in the mid-80s. There is some hope, though, that by the end of the week and by the next weekend, we may see some slightly cooler and drier air. But at least for this week, not quite feeling like October. Tomorrow, maybe, but that's more so because of the rain and the wind, and not necessarily those nice cold fronts that at some point we are going to get. But tomorrow, that's more because of the rain that we expect, but at least that will keep our temperatures down a little bit. So with that, I will leave you to it. Hopefully you have a wonderful rest of your Saturday evening. Again, we will continue to watch the potential for heavy rainfall tomorrow, just given that we have a lot of extra people here on the coast. Hopefully that's not going to be the case, but we'll keep an eye on things. Meteorologist Aaron Colby is going to be here tomorrow morning tracking some of those showers and possibly some heavier downpours. We will be having our later evening newscast tonight at 10 o'clock, depending on how football plays out. That may be pushed back a little bit, but after those football games, we will be having our 10 o'clock newscast tonight on CBS and on ABC. I will have another update on your forecast at that time, so hopefully you will join us at 10 o'clock.